also, there's somebody listed as waiting for name. I've got everybody else's name, but I don't know who that is.
Might be me because I'm on my personal laptop. This is Lori.
Yeah,
Thanks, Lori.
You aren't listed, so it must be you. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'll bring up the very brief agenda that I have so far. Anyone have an agenda topic to add, seeing this list? It just has the approval of the February minutes, play views, regional training, and questions.
And actually, Beth, those are called playaway views.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Condensing too many words here.
So, yeah, this is David, and I'm actually not quite familiar with those. So it's like a playaway, but it has video.
Yeah, it's a video. It's a little video box, and it has sound right in it. You can add earbuds. Just a minute. Let me explain. You can add earbuds, but it comes with a lithium battery already in it and a charging cord.
Okay, so this is something like handheld video game thing.
Kind of, but they're bigger.
Okay.
They're a little bit bigger, and they're very costly. The ones that were handed to me were $99 or $100.
Okay, well, we can talk about those in just a couple minutes. I'd like to look at has everybody gotten a chance to look at the February minutes?
Looked at them prior to our previous scheduled meeting, and I haven't looked at them since. So
Okay.
I'll pull them up.
Can
you put those on a screen?
That's what I'm going to work on doing right now. Logging into the website. Okay. Okay, so they should be up on your computer screen now. All right, any concerns about the minutes or corrections?
No, this is Lori. I make a motion that we accept them as written.
Do we have a second?
This is Dia. I'll second.
All right, thank you, Dia. All right. So with that out of the way, we can continue discussion on the playaway views. Dia's question was, well, and I can let you entertain it, Dia, so I don't misspeak, but we were mainly trying to see if we needed to add a circ modifier, if there were libraries in sufficient quantities acquiring these, trying to get some feedback on our libraries going to adopt this technology.
Well, and the other thing was too, do we also want to put the 999 subfield E? Do we want to create a code there?
Oh, correct.
So that people can, I don't know about the circulation modifier. I'll let you guys decide that one.
Okay.
Another 999 that we need, and perhaps the playaway views would fit under that. That's up to DIA or any libraries that are circulating them, but I don't think we have equipment. And we talked about doing that for those of us that were purchasing Kindles and Nooks and different things for our patrons.
Lori, do you mean equipment as a 999 value or as a circ modifier?
It's a 999.
Huh. Well, we do now because I've been doing some record cleanup involving equipment, and I've been using equipment as a 999 entry, both for electronic audio-visual equipment, but also for the standard office equipment that is circulating mainly at the community colleges, circulating to professors and to classrooms on campus.
Yes, but I don't think equipment is on the list, is it?
The list does need to be updated. And I think it's the 999 list is not really easily findable on the website right now, I don't think.
Well, I just brought it up, David, and equipment is not listed on there. Are there other things that are missing from this list?
I think there are a few other things. I don't see government document on there unless that's further down. Oh, that's right. It's U.S. and Oregon.
Right.
Let's see here. So this is under...
It's under resources at the very bottom of the list.
Resources, right. Okay.
And we currently have a playaway 999, and I think, and I know
That's what I've used
that's
initially.
What you used. Yeah, initially.
And it seems like somebody else, there was one other library, I can't remember now who, that had one or two, it looked like, and I can't remember it. They may have used that also. I just don't remember.
You know,
long enough ago now that I
don't object to putting both the audio and the video models of Playaway together under Playaway.
Well, my concern was whether or not we're going to have enough libraries that are going to be adding these that patrons would want to know when they're looking at formats, whether or not that really was my question. I don't know how many libraries. If there's just half a dozen of these in the system, then it probably isn't a big deal.
Yeah,
and this particular library that I added them for, they're library use only at this point because she just wants them to be people to know that they're there, and it's kind of a test in her library to see whether or not they'll be used the way she thinks they might.
Right. So here's a thought. We could do something with the GMD 245 subfield H. And if it's a playaway view, perhaps that could say playaway view instead of playaway. Then again, if folks want to create an extra 999 for Playaway video as well as Playaway audio, I have no objection. Like you say, it's just if it's only the matter of a few records, it just may not be worth the trouble.
And that's just what I wanted to get a sense of.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say I would say just use the Playaway for both the audio and video for now, and possibly this is a decision that can be revisited if we do see a significant number of the Playaway views added to the collection.
All right. What does
That's what I
anybody else
did.
think? Okay. I guess I'm wondering, is anybody else on the in the meeting today have Playaway views?
Not here at Harney County Library, though, you know, it's amazing because we've purchased about 160 Playaway audio, which is also very expensive, but much beloved.
Okay, that's good to know, Lori. Thanks. Anybody else? Okay, well, I guess we'll leave it just as Playaway for now and revisit it. If libraries are seeing that there's a demand for them in their libraries and they're acquiring them, then we can separate them out so patrons can find them easier with the facet. Okay. So back to this very short agenda. I wanted to talk about regional training. We've had our first regional training at Pendleton last week, and I felt like it went well. And we are obviously got more slated. Later this week we're doing one in the Dalles, and I'm going to be sending out a reminder after this meeting. And I just need to get confirmation on the meeting room before I send that out. But
were you able to cover all the topics with some comfort? I mean, did you get through the whole?
Yeah, let me bring up that agenda. We were able to get through all of the topics. I think we didn't have as much time at the end to do group cataloging of materials that the attendees brought. So I'm going to pare down some of the topics that I brought up and just make sure that I'm watching the clock so that we allow enough time. We were able to cover a couple resources, but I want to give us a little bit more time to expand that. But generally, yes, we were able to cover all the topics on the list. Let me try to bring that up so you can see. So this was on your screen is the list of items, and here again, this is not exactly in the order that we did them, and so I'll probably be switching that up a little bit with the next training. So just to bring up to the cataloging committee, I guess the question, seeing this list, are there any other topics you felt should have been on there? And do you have any questions about the regional trainings?
Did you ask for feedback from the people who took the training? Were they able to fill out a little survey at the end or to make recommendations?
You
or
know,
follow up even this week? early.
That's a
And
very...
Beth, actually, I had a library director make that suggestion. I was going to email you and forgot.
Yeah, no, I actually thought of the suggestion myself too as well, but it was too late. I didn't have any documents in front of me, but I think it's a great suggestion and it's something I'm going to do
And we could
with
still
the
do
next
it
training.
after. We could still do it following this one too.
Oh, okay.
We just did.
We did get
Hey,
some feedback from folks there that were very happy.
This is David, and I asked folks to write down their email addresses so they could get copies of the PowerPoint presentation. When I send out the copies of the PowerPoint decks, I'll be sure to ask them if they have any feedback they'd like to share.
And I did write down all the names of everybody who was there if they didn't all sign that list.
Okay.
But for the future ones, I'll draft a quick survey form that folks can fill out so that we have it available at the other meetings.
Yeah, and just included open-ended suggestions at the bottom of it.
Okay. For future
Can I ask how you cover? Yeah, can I ask how you address the duplicates? I see that early in the list. What did you tell them to do?
Contact the mentors.
Okay, that's what I was hoping.
Yeah, or if possible, if it was a duplicate involving one of their own holdings,
And only their own, David.
And only their own, yes, to use holdings maintenance to move that volume and item off the record where it was. I mean, that at least, if they're the ones who brought in the bid record for their item, then they can resolve that themselves.
Okay.
Okay. So when I send out the reminder for the training in the Dalles, I'm also going to list the other dates that we have trainings. And something that I left off the email was the reminder that travel and that we can help with costs associated with library staff attending these trainings because we have money in the grant. So I just need to make that more clear. I've had people, I've stated it to people individually, but I want to do it as a group in that email that goes out as well. Okay. So it kind of covers regional training. I did forget, so I'll add to this list. The patron survey has closed. I kept it up for a month, a few days past the month, but around the same time frame that we had it originally. And I'm going to get those results coalesced and in a spreadsheet, probably in summary form, before our next cataloging committee meeting so that we can go over the results. We had, the last time I looked, we had more responses this time around, but not by a huge amount. So at least the number of respondees was fairly the same. I don't have a count for everybody because I received, of course we had the online responses, but I also got a stack of print forms that were filled out by library patrons, and I don't have a count on those yet. All right, do you think that there's any cataloging concerns or issues out there that we should talk about today? as a group?
I would like to suggest that you, Beth, and David look over the create record templates.
Okay.
They remain obsolete, and they're missing serious fields. So if there's required fields and they're not auto-filled in as a suggested field, people tend to leave them out when they create records.
Okay, we covered it in the training, but yeah, I think it'd be a good idea for us to update those tutorials or instructions.
I would like it. I think the templates themselves need to be updated.
That's what Lori's asking too.
Right. So the problem is not with the instructions. I don't think it's with although I've been working on the cheat sheets, and have submitted some of those to Beth, so we can cross-check required fields in the manual with what's in the template.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lori, I misunderstood. You're talking MARC templates?
Yes, she's talking the templates in the MARC editor
Okay.
need to be cross-checked against the manual. And also, I think it's time we added the RDA material description fields to the template.
Yes, good.
Well, let's put it to a vote. I mean, we've been doing training on them. I think pretty much everybody knows what they are. We've also been saying if you import records that don't have them, and you don't have the time to upgrade them, don't worry about it. But we would like people to use them for original record creation. So let's make that part of the template so that when people do create original records, they'll be there. So I'd like to make that a motion.
This is Dia.
Dia, please explain your reluctance on doing an autofill in each of those templates.
Until we formally decide to move there, I think creating extra in that is going to be more confusing for folks that aren't familiar enough yet.
I'm sorry.
When just a minute, David, can you let me finish, please? We have talked some. However, this is a concept that takes time for people to really understand a lot of it, and there still are a lot of folks who still don't quite understand the 336, 337, and 338 and how they're built. And that's just a small piece of RDA. And I think until we formally decide we're going to move to and adopt that as our standard, I think we need to not add that to the create MARC. That's my personal feeling.
Okay.
Well, okay.
Can I interject something? This is Beth. I guess what I want to also bring up, I'm fine either way, but the folks that are doing the create MARC records, by and large, are Cat 1 folks. I know that you have folks in your area, Dia, who are using that because they need to create the temp records, right?
But that's not the issue I'm concerned with.
Okay. I guess I'm just wondering.
We have never formally adopted them. And until we do, I think we need to not add that. Once we have done that, then I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'm thinking let's not get our carts before our horses. That's all I'm saying.
Dia, here is my response. Everybody who's done Nebraska training with me since my date of hire has had training on the use and meaning of those fields. The folks who are already at level 1, I think, will be comfortable with it. It is, in short, the least we can do towards full adoption of RDA standards. However, if the vote of the committee is that people are not comfortable doing it at this time, I am confident that we can later go back and add those fields to records based upon the fixed field values. So with Beth, I'm going to say that it doesn't particularly concern me. We can do either or.
And honestly, I don't care if we take a vote. My concern is, I think people need to have time to think about it. If we're going to put a vote like this out, I think we don't just do it at the last drop minute kind of thing. Does that make sense? Because sometimes what we do is we think, oh, okay, and we jump in it before we think through everything. And I don't want us to end up in a situation where we regret it. I would rather, we take a month and think about it, come back and do it.
All right, I'll put it on the agenda for next month.
And I withdraw my motion.
And I look forward to our decision a month from now. I hear both sides, and I feel both have some validity. If we decide to move ahead with it, I think we'll be ready, certainly by May. With what Beth said, also, it's mostly Cat 1 catalogers. Not all, though. I don't understand some of the people that are creating records because they're not doing a good job. They can't be Cat 1 level. I don't know how those permissions work, Beth, so we want to review that also.
Okay.
So I look forward to the discussion next month.
Okay.
But meanwhile, could you update, it would be really helpful to update the required fields on all those. Like audio is missing several required fields as prompters.
Okay. All right, I'll go through those and get those updated, Lori. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Good discussion. Good things to consider.
Okay. I wondered if it would be appropriate for us to have a brief discussion of manga. It's something that we're covering in the regional trainings, but just kind of a repetition or reminder of how we're handling manga in the system. That we made the decision as a cataloging committee not to handle them as serial publication, even though they resemble those. But because of the fact that illustrators and key contributors to the work can change from part to part, we've elected to treat them as monographs, so individual titles, and that also allows the cover image to display and kind of correlates more closely to what the patron needs. There's obviously a lot more information we can record for a particular part if we treat it as a monograph. So I just wanted to kind of bring it up, see if there were still questions about it, and wondering also if there's some cleanup in the catalog that needs to be done to make sure all of those records are done the same. Anybody have a sense of that?
This is Lori, and I feel that on our system, the predominant practice really has been to treat them as standalones.
Okay, good.
And then I went out into other catalog systems. I did it through our Z3950, and then I just searched around some of the other catalogs that I sometimes go to look for standards and different practices. And I would say it is about 10-to-1 standalone is how manga is treated on library systems. Most of the records that I found that were treating them as a serial entry, where like 10 volumes in a set were all handled under one bib, a lot of those were temporary bibs at import or something, or they housed them there, but they were not the actual place where they attached their items. So it's predominantly standalone in public library systems.
All right. Thanks for looking at that, Lori. It helps strengthen our stand in what we chose to do. has anybody noticed any records in the system that are not standalone that need to be corrected? Because we could take that on as a cleanup project if anybody has found any.
I have not.
Okay, that's good.
In the early years when Mongo first came onto our system, some people did start doing it that way, but it seemed like they backed out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course, when you're talking to catalogers, it's always nice if they remember to look at, make sure they find what the other use or what the other bib use is on the system before they make a new policy for an item they have in hand. They should look for the historical way that these items are being treated within our catalog.
Well, this is David, and I just want to make the comment that to be sure that that people are looking in the catalog to see how they've been handled in the past with respect to the series information fields, 490 and 800. Because of course we'll want to treat manga like any other series fiction in that regard and have a series authority entry to link it.
Yeah, David, you don't add a series statement on manga. It is treated differently. It's added in the title. And that is the standard practice. That's the standard practice.
The N and P subfields in 245 is a good way to record the title statement from the primary source of information. However, in my opinion, that does not obviate the need to create a series statement and a series entry field as you would for other types of series fiction that's not illustrated.
It's not done anywhere else. I have looked. It really is handled in the title. Sometimes the alternate title carries the standalone individual title, but not always. It's usually all handled in the title field. And I've actually gone to, cataloging resources to look up how the recommended practices.
Did they explain why they had elected not to use the standard approach for tracking series in this situation?
Logically speaking, I would say they just didn't have to address it because it is handled perfectly well in the title. Anyone looking for a manga series will find it under the title information. It would be redundant.
So then we
just
simply
extra work redundant.
So then we simply have to be sure that folks are in fact using a series. What would you call it? It's not a series. It's a collective title, I believe.
Well, isn't the collective title in the subfield A of the 245?
Yes, okay. 245 subfield A. So that has to be the collective or the running title, you might call it, or the series title. Naruto, Yu-Gi-Oh,
which it has been, right? I mean, everybody's been using that already, correct?
Hopefully so. Hopefully people have not been using like the individual entry title in 245 subfield A. So just keep an eye open for that is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And since if we're not going to do series fields in addition, and take a belt and suspenders approach, then we want to make sure that we have consistency in all the 245 entries.
Okay.
Hi, this is, I don't know if you can hear me. This is Anna at Hood River Library.
Hi.
And so this is my first time to the meeting, but I just wanted to interject something there. As was explained to me, the series information is important so that when patrons do a catalog search for an item, then the different entries in the series are come up in the search ordered properly. So we've been also adding the series information so that then, right, numerically you can see, oh, this was the first in the series, second, third, fourth, fifth. I guess with what David was saying with adding that information, isn't that why we've been adding that information and not just having it in the 245?
Do you do that in your manga, though? Because I've never seen it in Hood River Bib originally, so that's been new if you're doing it.
I think that might be new.
I
mean, we also include, you know, if it says volume 4 on the title page, then that gets included in the 245. But I think we're also adding, I mean, I would need to check with Sarah, but my understanding is that we were adding in that information so that, precisely so that it will order properly in the catalog search.
Well, it doesn't hurt anything in terms of search to have the information in both places.
Beth, can I ask, when we tailored the view of the title for the OPAC, is the N and the P part of what they see displayed?
I would hope so, but it wouldn't hurt for me to confirm that. Because
I'm pretty sure it is.
Do we have a manga title that we could, I could bring up the catalog and we could verify this now, potentially?
Well, pull up, yeah, look for Naruto, Naruto. That one's got about, I don't know, 20 entries, something like that, at least. So my recollection is that if it doesn't show up in the list of search results, it absolutely does show up on the patron view of the bib record.
It does show up on the title when you do a search.
Okay, here, there's...
Both N and P.
Yeah. So here's one with volume 72 and then the actual subtitle. So yes, it is showing up. If I sort by title A to Z, curious. Just trying to figure out the sort order within the Naruto. That'll take a little bit more examination. I guess, do we think patrons would, you know, there is a series search. Do you think it's possible that they would use that to search for any manga? Or do you think they would just search by keyword and title?
Anything's possible. I think they could use it to search by series if, you know, once they've sort of got started reading it and are looking for additional entries in the series.
So we've got over here on the left-hand sidebar, of course, our facets, and we've got series, of which it only shows 3 in that series. I guess where I'm coming from is if some put it in and some don't, we're going to have this mixed message to the patrons as far as how many items are actually in that grouping. So that's kind of my only concern. I realize that, yes, all of the information that the patron really needs is in the title. So the series entry isn't necessarily needed because they're still going to find it. I guess I just wonder about narrowing down the search or searching a different way, whether that's going to be problematic for the patrons.
Naruto is a bit of an exception in this. As far as I'm aware, it's the largest. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And most of our series are, anywhere from 8 to 20.
Yeah.
So Naruto is kind of obnoxious, isn't it? It's amazing.
For the fans, probably not, but
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like hearing that a library just independently, like you said, if it's not consistent practice. It's too bad that somebody decided to start adding series information without discussing it first. I think that's what the cataloging committee is for. And you go out in the system in the world, other libraries, it seems to be a redundant practice. It is not added very often at all.
I know, but is this actually an authorized series heading? If it is, then obviously they've created an authority for it, so they consider it to be a series.
Well, remember, series doesn't really have any authority control anymore.
I know.
As we should well know, we're creating all kinds of series that aren't real, But then, like you said, if one library is randomly adding a few series statements and then the whole series is not, unless they're going to do all the cleanup for every holding in the SAGE system, only 1/10 of them will be searchable by series now. That's not how you work in a consortium.
Well, I think we just need to decide how we're going forward with this. I mean, they are fictional materials, and if a fictional material is a part of a series, we've been adding a series heading. And they're not going to automatically know that, oh, manga's an exception to this, because we haven't really talked about it.
Exactly.
So I feel like now we're at this discussion point, and whether we decide at this meeting or a future meeting, we kind of have to clear, make a policy so that we know how to go forward. And, is there a strong enough argument to say they shouldn't have a series heading despite the fact that they are a fiction series? Just because they're manga? Is it because we don't want the extra work of having to add the series headings when the data is already there?
That's a valid issue, frankly, but I don't want to sound like we're just slouching. I mean, if it's necessary to have the series, that's one thing, but to add them to a few and not to all, that's where our catalog is in trouble. So what do we need, a month to figure this out? Can anybody look into this aside from me? And if I'm wrong, then we'll change our practice, but we're kind of following standard practice in most public library systems the way we are now. If we're going to start adding series, I want to know who pays for all the cleanup.
Okay, well, rather than let's do some thinking about this, some research, and come back to the next meeting and make a decision on this as well. I'm glad it came up.
Yes.
Yeah. So that we can kind of go forward all as kind of united in our approach anyway.
And Beth, you know, I had held off on sending out the email to the SAGE system exactly because I wondered what kind of discussion would happen with your trainings, and you know, with David having felt we were not following the right practice, and the committee having made a decision. So I will send out an email and say and ask for others to consider this topic.
So this is David, and my thoughts are, my original thought was that it would be less work to organize manga as a serial publication. However, since the committee does not think that that's the way to go, I do think that series fields consistent with the training and reference materials provided to level 2 catalogers for other types of series fiction is the way to go. So I'm arguing consistency in that. If we're going to treat them as fiction, as series fiction, and each manga issue as a monograph, then in series fields would be the consistent approach to employ. However, it's the committee's vote, so when we discuss this next month, we'll see what people think.
And for some reason, out in the big public library world, we would be the only ones almost adding series statements. So that's something to consider also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks, Lori. I have an echo now. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was I wanted to briefly mention that I have sent a copy of all of our current bibliographic records, with the exception of EOU and online titles, to LTI as a new base file for them to use in sending us authority records. So sometime this month I will be getting new authority files and processing those. So we'll get an update in all of our authority areas, the name authorities, subject. They will be sending a series as well. And they, at the same time, are going to be converting our older genre headings that were GSFAD headings over to the Library of Congress genre headings. So that's another good update that will happen at the same time. So anyway, just wanted to give you guys a heads up that sometime in the not too distant future we will have better authorities within our system to check against when creating records or adding authority entries or adding authorized headings to our existing MARC records. So any other things that we want to discuss today? We've kind of built up some agenda items for next month. Looks like we'll have plenty of good discussion, but anything else that we need to talk about today or that we need to be looking at in the near future? Well, it's conspicuously silent. So maybe we're ready to wrap up things today. As always, I hope everybody feels comfortable contacting one of the mentors or contacting me as temporary chair if you have concerns that need to be addressed. And
if you have cleanup that you spot and you don't have time right then to get around to it, then please feel free to email me and let me know.
Okay, thanks, David. Okay, I guess with that, we will adjourn this meeting. We're still wanting to meet monthly, is my assumption. So our next cataloging committee meeting would be the first Monday in May.
Okay, and that would be following 3 more trainings and preceding the training scheduled for Harney County.
That's
Lake
correct.
County, and Grant.
Yep, that's right.
And that date is the 2nd.
Oh, okay, thank you, Dia. So May 2nd. All right.
I know this is kind of out of order, but I do have one other question or one other comment. I know that to make sure that we're all using the same practice, awards notes,
Yes.
586. And one of the things I've been adding every year recently has been the Battle of the Book titles. Does anyone see a problem with doing that? I go through the whole list and find as many of the items on Sage as I can to get that recognition in, because our school kids come into our library looking for those under that practice. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Absolutely not. I think it's a great idea, and I congratulate you on your initiative.
Well,
I think it's a good idea too, Lori.
Yeah.
Okay, so if any of you are handling those items and you have an item that's odd or rare or whatever, you might consider adding that as is the practice then.
Okay. That's great. Thanks, Lori, for mentioning it. All right. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day, and be talking with all of you soon, I'm sure. Take care.
Thank you all. Goodbye.